bring your soul to life. Selected ones. It's not a coincidence that you're watching this at the moment. It's predetermined. When it comes to this kind of information, there are no coincidences. You came here for a reason. Perhaps an emotion you are unable to describe. A desire for something bigger. And that's because you already know in your heart that you're unique. The commonplace is not feared by the world. Those who resist control are feared. Thinking people move and exist outside the boundaries that are set for them. The visionaries, the disruptors, the chosen ones, they are the ones who, simply by breathing, frighten the powerful. These people don't simply exist in the world, as history has demonstrated. They alter it. They are the most feared because of this. Because everything based on illusion starts to fall apart as the selected ones rise. They break the idea of control to start. Control laws, structures, and ideologies that are intended to maintain social order form the foundation of the world. Because they have been trained to accept things as they are, the majority don't even question it. The chosen ones, however, see right through it. They undermine the illusion of control, not merely disturb it. They are harmful because of this. Governments, businesses, and societal elites all depend on the assumption that the majority would follow without question. They erect invisible barriers that dictate what is acceptable, what is possible, and what people should be afraid of. However, these boundaries are not accepted by the chosen ones. They oppose authority because they don't accept a reality that has been created for them, not because they are rebellious. The fact that the system was never as powerful as it appeared is revealed when someone escapes the illusion. Those who profit from control are terrified by that. That's why people who broke with convention are remembered throughout history. Those who took a stand either spoke up or just lived in a way that caused discomfort to others. In actuality, chaos is not feared by civilization. It is afraid of uncontrollable people. The twist is that most individuals aren't interested in seeing past the illusion. It's simpler to think that things are the way they are, that nothing can be done about them, and that the people in charge are the most knowledgeable. A separate reality is imposed onto the world by the selected ones. They serve as living evidence that the obstacles preventing individuals from moving forward are only carefully crafted lies. They are feared for this reason, not because they are violent, careless, or dangerous as the media would have you believe, but because they reveal the flaw in a control-based system, and it is impossible to remove that curtain once it has been lifted. Secondly, they function outside of the system. The world is a system. Economy, politics, religion, and education are intended to maintain people's regular habits. You are forced into a framework that dictates what you should do, how you should think, and your boundaries as soon as you are born. Because deviating from the script feels dangerous or even impossible, most people blindly follow it. However, the ones who were selected, they don't simply circumvent the system. They function completely outside of it. They are so dreaded because of this. Everyone is expected by society to follow the same rules and live their lives in a controlled and understood manner. By demonstrating that the system isn't the only method, they can forge their own pathways, establish their own guidelines, and achieve success in unconventional ways. The selected ones upend that. Additionally, it makes people reevaluate what they've been taught when someone achieves success without taking the conventional path. Because control depends on predictability, many in positions of authority detest this. People's belief that the system is necessary for their survival is what allows governments, businesses, and other organizations to flourish. However, those who are chosen don't wait for approval, don't seek permission. Additionally, don't depend on the systems that are meant to house them. They establish their own networks, develop their own economies, and move in unpredictable and untraceable ways. For those who depend on control, that is unsettling. The fact that the selected ones aren't merely gaining their freedom for personal gain only makes it worse. They are demonstrating to others their ability to do the same. And the true danger is that Because the entire foundation starts to crumble once enough individuals understand they don't have to be stuck in a system that wasn't intended for their prosperity. They are feared because they reveal the truth, not because they are rebels or criminals. Only if you decide to remain inside the system does it have power, not the selected ones. And the ripple effect won't stop after they demonstrate that life exists outside of the rules. Thirdly, they reveal others' weaknesses. The majority of people live their lives in disguise, feigning to be more confident, tougher, or wiser than they actually are. To avoid dealing with their own shortcomings, they encircle themselves with rituals, diversions, and social approval. However, the chosen ones don't let that illusion persist simply by being. They make people take a close look at themselves, and it is frightful. They don't intentionally go around pointing out people's shortcomings. They are not required to. Just having them around is plenty. Those who are still looking for themselves become uneasy when someone enters a room with genuine confidence. Not the phony sort based on conceit, but the kind that comes from understanding who they are. People start to wonder why they ever conformed in the first place when someone doesn't. The majority of people, in actuality, do not despise the chosen ones for who they are. They despise what they stand for. Evidence shows the possibility of strength, clarity, and purpose. And what's stopping someone else from having those things if they can? Usually, they have the answer. It hurts to realize that. Resenting the individual who causes them to feel that way is simpler than facing their own limitations and concerns. The picked are therefore subject to opposition. Others are forced to look in the mirror by their very presence, and many are unhappy with what they see. While some respond with appreciation in the hopes of growing and learning, others strike out, attempting to dismantle them in order to avoid having to face reality. Because of this, history is replete with notable individuals who faced animosity, not because they were malevolent or dangerous, but rather because they exposed things that others didn't want to see. The chosen ones aren't the main target of fear. It has to do with what they make other people realize. And bitterness, envy, and even hatred are the results of that fear, because attacking the messenger is simpler than facing the message. Fourth, they demonstrate that boundaries are a myth. From an early age, humans are constrained by a multitude of invisible obstacles, laws, expectations, and so-called limits in the world. People are taught to think narrowly by society, which persuades them that only a chosen few can achieve prosperity, power, and greatness. Most people take this for granted, thinking that only the wealthy or extremely fortunate can overcome it. However, the ones who were selected, they don't simply transgress such boundaries. They demonstrate that they never existed at all. They are extremely deadly because of this. When someone surpasses all expectations, overcomes all challenges, and achieves success in ways that shouldn't have been conceivable, it compels everyone else to confront the falsehoods they have been exposed to. Why can't they do it if the selected one can? For people who have lived their entire lives thinking they have no control, that question is horrifying. It compels them to face an unsettling reality. They are the only things preventing them from moving forward, not society or their environment. The majority of folks aren't prepared for that. It's simpler to think that success is a lottery, that brilliance is reserved for the talented, and that boundaries exist. However, it disturbs people to their very core when someone comes along and proves contrary. Because they reveal the reality that anyone could be greater, selected ones are resisted, not because they pose a threat in the conventional sense. However, most decide not to be. They are frightened because of this. Not only do they succeed, but their success compels them to face the consequences. They demonstrate that self-deprecating narratives about one's own inadequacies are really excuses. And that's a reality that many people find too hard to face. It's simpler to ignore, condemn, or intimidate the selected ones than to acknowledge that they might also overstep their bounds. If only they would accept the discomfort that comes with change. Fifth, they are uncontrollable and unowned. The basis of power is control. The power to control others with money, fear, approval, or punishment is what allows governments, businesses, and even societal systems to flourish. The majority voluntarily accept this system, giving up their independence in exchange for convenience, safety, or the appearance of stability. However, the ones who were selected, they cannot be silenced, owned, or controlled. They are hence harmful. It is not revolt that really frightens the powerful. It's self-reliance. Rebellions are defeatable. It is possible to infiltrate protests. Opposition can also be purchased. However, someone who doesn't require anything from the system and who is impervious to bribery, extortion, or manipulation, that is an issue. Since the chosen ones don't depend on the typical incentives or dread the typical punishments, no amount of influence can change the way they behave. They cannot be influenced since they are not seeking fame, fortune, or approval. Those who obeyed orders were rarely the ones who made a difference in the world throughout history. They were the ones who would not bow down, who were unconvinced to compromise their principles, and who left everything behind if it meant maintaining their honor. Because they have no one to answer to, the chosen ones are feared by leaders, elites, and even entire societies, not because they are aggressive or destructive. People must require something in order to be in control: safety, approval, defense, or even a sense of inclusion. However, those who are chosen function from a position of independence. They make their own decisions, acquire their own wealth, and gain their own influence. Since they don't yearn for inclusion, they cannot be threatened with banishment. They have already come to terms with standing by themselves. Therefore, they cannot be coerced into surrender. And that is the biggest danger to any control-based system. Someone who demonstrates that having control is not necessary. Because the entire system starts to fall apart as soon as people realize that it is possible to live without owning anything. Sixth, they draw revolt and dedication. Control is only one aspect of power. Influence is the key. Those in authority desire more than just compliance. They desire allegiance, faith, and reliance. However, because the selected ones do more than simply navigate the world, they upset this equilibrium. They drag other people along with them. Just by being there, they cause individuals to reevaluate and question the present quo. And above all, take action. It's easy to understand why they inspire both devotion and resistance. For people who feel helpless, defeated, or confined, they stand for opportunity. The selected ones serve as evidence that transformation is achievable. They don't even try to inspire. Their presence awakens people, not because they are looking for disciples. And for those in authority, nothing poses a greater threat than awakened citizens. Revolutions don't begin with troops, as history has demonstrated. They begin with concepts. No legislation can override the strength of one person who is steadfast in their beliefs, ruler or government. The chosen ones are therefore viewed as a danger. It goes beyond what they do. It's about what they convince people they are capable of. They become an uncontrollable power when people unite behind them and their influence grows. Because power spreads easily, those in positions of authority are afraid of this. When someone succeeds in defying the system, others start to question why they are unable to follow suit. What inspires admiration to become action? When inspiration gives way to opposition, what happens? And the entire system starts to tremble once enough people cease being afraid of those in charge. That's why many fear the chosen ones. They evoke more than adoration. They spark motion. Furthermore, it is quite difficult to halt the movement once it has begun, because people won't accept the shift they formerly considered normal once they see a different path forward. Seventh, they are experts at transformation and suffering. Most individuals are destroyed by pain. They are worn down, broken, and persuaded to accept less as a result. The typical individual lives their entire life avoiding pain, putting ease ahead of difficulty, even if it means remaining in the same place. The chosen ones, however, act in the opposite way. They transform suffering, failure, loss, and betrayal into power. They are unstoppable because of this. The great equalizer is suffering. It happens to everyone. However, some people are unsure about how to handle it. Most allow it to define them in the worst possible way, leading to feelings of bitterness, resentment, or failure. However, pain is a raw material used by the selected. Every failure serves as a teaching moment. Their instincts are sharpened by every betrayal. Resilience is cultivated by each setback. They change as a result of adversity rather than allowing it to break them. They are so dreaded because of this. The world is skilled at controlling individuals by causing them pain, fear, hardship, or self-doubt. They will also continue to obey. However, what occurs when a person no longer fears pain? What happens if they can't give up no matter how hard they try? They become impenetrable. They are not threatened. No failure slows them down. They simply get stronger every time you try to break them. Those who refuse to be broken are remembered in history. The people who lost everything and yet got back up, sharper and more intelligent than before. Their adversaries put up roadblocks before realizing too late that they were dealing with someone who wasn't like everyone else. They were up against a person who grew stronger with each setback. Because they have previously endured the worst and come out on top, the chosen ones pose a threat. They do more than just bear suffering. They are experts at it. And that type of strength makes them almost impossible to stop in a world where most people break under pressure. Eighthly, they are aware of both light and dark. Most people want to think that there are only two sides to the world, right and wrong, good and evil. They hold on to these beliefs because they simplify life. However, that privilege is not available to the chosen. They perceive the world as a balance of light and dark, as it truly is. Additionally, they are aware of how both sides function. They cannot be tricked, manipulated, or controlled because of this. Most people only see half the picture, which is why they are so easily duped. They believe that people in positions of authority are always acting in their best interests. Even when the rules are intended to keep them weak, they feel that being good entails abiding by them. However, the chosen ones are not fooled by such delusions. They are aware that darkness isn't limited to rebels or criminals. It is present in businesses, governments, religious institutions, and even those who profess to defend them. However, they also recognize that light isn't always present where people anticipate it to be. Those who defy authority, disobey the law, or interfere with the system are sometimes the ones who are genuinely working for improvement. The selected ones are able to see through phony morality, identifying when evil is merely a person who refuses to submit and when justice is just another instrument for control. They are dangerous because of this awareness. Politicians, dishonest leaders, manipulators, and others who profit from ignorance are afraid of those who cannot be duped. They thrive on dividing people by giving them partial truths that prevent them from seeing the wider picture. The chosen, however, are exempt from this. They are aware of when someone is disguising themselves as virtuous, when a system is rigged, and when they are being manipulated. They are feared because they are unflappable, not because they are aggressive or careless. And the most dangerous individual of all is one who sees all, the light and the dark, in a world where deception is the norm. 9. Just by being there, they obliterate mediocrity. Being mediocre is easy. It makes no demands, prevents people from taking risks, and allows them to live a life in which they are never forced to go outside their comfort zone. The majority of individuals embrace it because striving for greatness entails embracing discomfort, disappointment, and uncertainty, not because they lack potential. But the selected ones don't live that way, and they make mediocrity unavoidable just by being there. They are frightened because of this. They don't have to criticize, accuse, or prove anything. People become uneasy just by looking at them. Everyone is forced to examine themselves when someone enters a room with genuine self-assurance, skill, and purpose. Additionally, the majority of people dislike what they see. Many feel exposed rather than motivated. The selected one acts as a living reminder of the potential of the goals and aspirations that others have hidden behind justifications. They demonstrate how self-imposed constraints exist, that people want to remain average rather than be forced to, and that people are aware that taking action is uncomfortable. For this reason, society frequently attempts to minimize their achievements or paint them in a negative light. People quickly describe a chosen person as fortunate, privileged, or even conceited if they achieve excellence. Anything to keep from acknowledging that they had the potential to be greater but decided not to. Attacking the one who climbs is simpler than addressing the reasons why others remain stuck. When no one questions too much, pushes too much, or stands too tall, mediocrity flourishes. However, those who are chosen don't meet that description. They make people realize the difference between their current selves and their potential selves. And in a society where comfort is valued above all else, not only is that kind of presence unnerving, but it is also frightening. 10th, they exude an aura that is impossible to ignore. Some individuals compete for attention by speaking loudest, requesting approval, and going to extreme lengths to gain attention. However, those who are chosen don't have to seek attention. It locates them. They have an energy that makes them unavoidable, even when they are silent. They are dreaded for precisely that reason. Being the focus of attention is essential for influential people, authority figures, and powerful people. By directing attention, shaping narratives, and instilling a sense of importance, they increase their power. However, that balance changes naturally when a chosen one enters the room. They are not required to dominate the stage, dress the loudest, or talk first. Those who thrive on control are at risk because their very existence diverts attention. It's not about fame, status, or good looks. There's more to it: an aura, an unwavering confidence, and their identity. The chosen ones possess confidence, while others perform it and others seek praise. They move as though they are not in need of it. They are magnetic because of that difference. And it's frustrating to people who depend on artificial influence. They evoke both adoration and hate because of this. Some are drawn to them because they sense an unsaid force that inspires them to improve. Others respond with jealousy, uneasiness, or even animosity. The idea that the chosen ones can succeed without pleading for attention frustrates me. Those who don't seek attention end up holding the most power in a society where most people are keen to be noticed. They don't seek for influence, which is why they are feared, but they have it by nature. And for people who work so hard to be in the spotlight, nothing is more disturbing than being outdone without even trying. First of all, they are able to spot lies. The world is immediately based on deceit. Words are twisted by politicians. Even common individuals wear masks to conceal their genuine motivations, while corporations offer illusions. Because it's easy to pretend, or because they don't notice, most people comply. The chosen ones, however, see right through it all. They are therefore a nightmare for people who depend on lies to maintain their authority. Only those who are unaware of it are susceptible to manipulation. Because they want to trust the image being presented to them, the average person is susceptible to deception. They want to believe that the system is looking out for their best interests, believing the stories they've been fed are true and that the people they follow are sincere. But it is impossible to deceive the selected ones. They are able to identify lies, covert plans, and deceptive tactics as soon as they show up. Because of this, they pose a threat to people who profit from influencers, control-hungry leaders, and even phony pals. I detest being around someone who may easily expose them. The selected individuals don't even need to speak. The liar knows they've been noticed with just one glance and one unwavering posture. The removal of the manipulator's greatest weapon, illusion, is what makes that kind of awareness unpleasant. For this reason, society frequently attempts to discredit or silence them. One cannot control someone who sees the truth. They are not susceptible to emotional manipulation, baiting, or guilt tripping. Instead of calling things as people would like them to be, They call them as they are. They are hence dangerous. They disturb the games that preserve power in the wrong hands simply by existing, not because they want to create devastation. Only when it is not seen can deception be effective. However, it is not only annoying for those who manipulate, but also frightening when there is someone who is always aware, who can see through every disguise, every broken promise, and every skillfully constructed illusion. Number 12, they are not afraid of being alone. More than anything else, the dread of loneliness controls the majority of individuals. They are kept in line by their need for approval, acceptance, and a sense of belonging, which compels them to comply even when it goes against who they really are. This fear is used as a weapon by society to make people think that defying authority will result in rejection, ridicule, or exile. However, the ones who were selected, they are uncontrollable because they don't fear being alone. The fact that social pressure has little effect on individuals in positions of authority worries them. They don't require a throng to validate their value, nor do they yearn for approval. The chosen ones welcome standing alone, although most people shudder at the idea. Instead of following the herd into mediocrity, they would rather to forge their own route alone. This type of self-sufficiency is risky since it eliminates the primary means of maintaining obedience, the anxiety of being shunned. Those who defied popular opinion were the biggest disruptors throughout history. They were called outsiders, attacked, and made fun of. They were unfazed, however. Why? Because they knew something that most people will never understand. Being alone is not a sign of weakness. It has power. It coerces. While others are preoccupied with gaining approval, clarity eliminates distractions and strengthens resilience. When the chosen ones reappear, their vision is sharpened, making them unstoppable. They are frightened because of this. The system depends on people's fear of independent thought, acting without authorization, and seeking approval from others. But when someone demonstrates that they can succeed on their own without the system, it upends the whole basis of authority. Loneliness cannot influence the chosen ones since they are not afraid of it. Furthermore, someone who is not in need of belonging is not just odd in a society where most people are yearning to fit in. They pose a threat. Number 13, they compel evolution. It's uncomfortable to change. Because it requires work, risk, and uncertainty, the majority of people and systems oppose it. Even with its flaws, stability is preferable to trying something new. The chosen ones, however, don't simply welcome change. They make it happen. Whether the world is ready or not, their presence, deeds, and attitude propel it forward. And those who profit from stagnation are terrified by that. Society is not meant to change. It is meant to survive. Institutions, businesses, and governments all benefit from predictability. They depend on people thinking the same, accepting things as they are, and abiding by the same norms because they are the chosen ones. Stop all of that. They don't accept constraints, antiquated procedures, or the status quo. They pose a threat since their sheer existence questions the established quo. Their actions aren't the only thing that causes terror. What they make other people realize is what matters. People begin to doubt their own boundaries when they witness someone else crossing them. They start to question why they've allowed themselves to be dominated, why they've allowed fear to stop them, and why they've accepted mediocrity. The selected ones don't simply develop on their own. They have a cascading impact that compels everyone to change. They encounter pushback because of this. Because ideas propagate, those in positions of authority are more afraid of ideas than revolution. It is possible to rewrite systems and modify reality if one person demonstrates that constraints are untrue. Others will come after. Furthermore, evolution cannot be stopped once it begins. Because they exist outside of the world, the chosen ones are dreaded. They alter it. They want more, upend conventions, and disturb comfort. Even though most people are afraid of the unknown, they end up being the force that propels the world along whether it wants to or not. Number 14. They can only be postponed. They cannot be destroyed. The selected ones have always been targeted for elimination by powerful individuals, dishonest institutions, and those who are afraid of change. They have silenced them, banished them, removed their names from the record books, and in certain situations, killed them. But one reality endures regardless of how often this occurs. They come back every time. They cannot be destroyed. The inevitable can only be postponed. This has a straightforward explanation. The chosen are more than just people. They're forces. Their energy and ideas have an impact. Avoid dying alongside them. They will rise again if you push them down. More resilient, astute, and unrelenting than before. One will emerge if the other is removed. Their influence is not limited to a single individual. It is a pattern, a cycle that has been repeated throughout history. Examine the past. A revolutionary's, thinkers, or visionaries' influence has only increased whenever a system has attempted to eradicate them. People who don't want to give up have always been the biggest challenges to authority. People will pay more attention if you suppress them more. Their views proliferate the more you criticize them. They are frightened because of this. Their strength isn't the only factor. It has to do with their perseverance. The people in charge are aware that although they can temporarily remove a chosen one, they are powerless to halt what they stand for. They are motivated by more than just achieving personal achievement. Thus, their return is unavoidable. They are driven by a greater purpose than themselves. And no obstacle, betrayal, or setback can really stop someone who moves with that type of power. Delay them? Indeed. Destroy them? Of course, but challenge them. Not possible, because their impact endures, waiting for the ideal opportunity to resurface, even if they vanish. Furthermore, they don't simply give the same thing back when they do. They come back stronger, because they are power, rather than because they want power. The selected ones are feared, breathing, or walking. Unquestionably, they are forces of change that defy convention, are uncontrollable, and will not stop. They constitute a threat to any system based on deceit and complacency, since their sheer presence confronts mediocrity, forces evolution, and exposes illusions no matter what the world throws at them. They serve as evidence that boundaries are self-imposed. It is possible to turn that anguish into strength, and you have to earn that influence, not beg for it. They don't seek approval. They do, however, demand attention. They don't want to be in charge. However, they disturb those who possess it, because they stay in the realm of what it could be rather than what it is ready to settle for. They are both feared and followed, respected and loathed. For those who attempt to repress them, this is the most horrifying reality. They always come back, regardless of the amount of opposition they encounter or the number of times they are suppressed, obliterated, or banished. Their presence is a matter of when rather than if, because such forces are ever present. In the shadows, they just get stronger as they await the opportunity to rise once more. The picked are therefore the ones who are most dreaded. They are not limited to the planet. They alter it, and they will never be stopped by any amount of control, opposition, or fear. You should feel the force of this message and realize that the world needs more of it if it spoke to you and you saw the truth in it. Then don't merely observe. Participate in it. Please leave a comment below and hit the subscribe button. Tell me which portion most affected you. Above all, spread the word because the world needs more individuals who are independent-minded, think critically, and challenge authority. This goes beyond content. It's a movement. And the reason you're here is because you were supposed to be here. Thank you for viewing.